everyone, my name is Luna, and today we are talking about episode 106 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role, Unseelie Interrupted, which is going to go down in history purely for this moment here.
You were out and about, trying to just spread your legs a little bit. Spread your wings. I didn't say it's fine, you right?
I was spreading those legs all over town.
I dare anyone to take that out of context.
I was trying to say.
Can't be done. Can't be done. Stretch! Stretch your legs! Spread your wings!
No, they both collided.
Yeah,
They both.
just the scissoring of wings and legs.
Just going out there and sowing your wild pussy.
God damn it.
Let's talk about this meeting between the Sorry Lord Zathuda, Ludinus, and the Unseelie. So in case you need a bit of a refresher, Sorry Lord Zathuda is Grove Captain of the Unseelie Court, and while I don't think we have an exact definition for that role, we do know that Zathuda is relatively high up in the Unseelie Court and has sort of underlings, and one underling was Yusafaid, who was played by Erika Ishii.
I wait in prickly silence for your report.
My lord, you know that good work takes time.
When is you coming back, by the way? You know, I want them to pop up again at some point. I've actually seen a really fun idea floating around that they, Critical Role have a guest who will come in who is not Erika, and they'll play this new character, but then eventually it's revealed that it is Yusafaid, and Erika comes and takes over once the reveal happens. I don't think it's going to happen just because logistically it feels kind of complicated, but it would be really, really fun if they could. Anyway, I got distracted, so back to Zathuda. So while the Sorry Lord is high up in the Unseelie Court, it seems that he does have superiors, because I got the impression from this meeting that Zathuda and Ludinus are still kind of buddy-buddy, but it was the other forces of the Unseelie that were kind of dragging their feet. I think this does make sense to me because Zathuda has been tied up in Ludinus's plot for ages and seems to genuinely believe in it because he did go to the trouble of ensuring that his daughter Fern was born under a red flare in Exandria, resulting in her being Ruidus born. Although the relationship is probably tenuous, Ludinus did berate Zathuda at the end of the encounter for not being able to bring his Unseelie brethren into line. If I was Ludinus, I wouldn't trust Zathuda at all. I'm sure he's in this for whatever power he can get, but yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was really interesting to think about the Unseelie politics and how they might sort of interact. I want to say that I was so impressed with how Bellshells infiltrated the city and took down those sentries silently. It felt like they used a lot of their skills and spells, and it was a moment of, professional adventurer stuff.
I just go tap, tap.
Spins around.
But the big issue is they had no idea what to do once they had done that. And I really wish they'd taken some time to make a plan. I think there was a feeling of there not being enough time because as soon as they arrived in the Feywild, Nanamari told them that the Unseelie had already arrived and they really needed to get hustling off. But if they had just taken a few moments, I think Marisha's idea was brilliant.
The other thing, this is really dumb above the table. We'd have to do a costume change, but we all have our Ruby Vanguard uniform.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
If we make it look like the Ruby Vanguard is holding them hostage.
If they had taken that time when they were drinking cocktails with Nanamori to do a quick outfit change, I really think they could have had something going with this idea. Especially if Imogen summoned a Rylauren, that would even strengthen the case. I just think it could have worked really well. And instead, it looks like we're just in a fight that both sides immediately are going to know is from a third party, and it will probably only strengthen the bonds if the Unseelie, feel themselves to be threatened. They may be more likely to become closer allies or more involved with Ludinus's side. I mean, I don't know, maybe Bellshells will come up with something before next week, but Fern's been spotted, and I don't know. I'm pretty sure we're going to kick off with an initiative roll next session, so they're probably just going to end up, in a big fight. Ugh, it's so frustrating, though, because they did so well in the first part of this infiltration. It was incredible to watch, and now it feels like it's going to go downhill. I don't know. I can't think of a way that they could pull off, deception now. I don't know. Can you think of any way? Put your ideas in the comments. Maybe we can send some of that energy out into the universe and make it happen. Honestly, though, it is kind of the unwritten rule of D&D. Even if they had spent an hour planning what to do, they probably would have changed those plans in the first round anyway, or as soon as they got there. All right, let's rewind a little to the beginning of the episode and talk about Chetney's superfan, Wayland.
Okay, well, now you're kind of freaking me out.
He begins to step towards you here in the still, nearly lightless base chamber of his collection. His pompadour just barely lit by the low embers of the nearby magical lantern light. You hear him beneath his breath. It is through his light, forgiveness, and justice is maintained. It is through his light, forgiveness, and justice is maintained. And he kind of steps forward, the shadow just obscuring the top of his face as he looks up. Not a problem. I can get you out of that. Lickety-split.
There's no doubt in my mind that this has something to do with Chetney's deal with Nanomori back in episode 80.
I want to be the most famous toy maker the world has ever known.
Now that just requires a little bend of fate, doesn't it?
But the fact that Waylon had all of this stuff, it seemed like he had been collecting it for a long time. So is it just that his fandom is being pushed more towards fanaticism, or did Chetney make a deal for something that had already happened? You know, he'd already got this infamy and he just didn't know it. But what about the other C-poppers? Are they being affected by the deal? I don't know that we'll get to see PopCon if it's taking place after everything that is happening with Ruidus, but it would be fun to see it in the epilogue maybe, or like a one-shot. I just really want to know if the other C-poppers are as intense as Wayland, and I want to know more about how that deal is working. This was such a funny meta storyline to include in the game, given the fandom that exists around Critical Role. It definitely felt like they were tapping into some of their own feelings around the fandom.
I mean, in fan, you should honestly be careful. I've heard, like, if a fandom ever turns on you,
it's bad.
It could ruin your life.
It could ruin your life.
Yeah.
I honestly can't imagine what it would be like to have that kind of super fan attention towards you. You know, it must be really, really intense. And, you know, having people analyze the game and, like, come up with theories and guess what's going to happen and obsess over the lore and every little thing that you say. That's such a weird thing to do, right? I also thought it was pretty funny, though, that Wayland was sort of depicted or perceived by the players as being creepy for having a whole house filled with merchandise.
This is the room you're gonna die.
Opens.
But Critical Role are a merchandise company. They have sold so much merch. They literally drop multiple new products every single week. So they want people to buy the stuff. And I'm sure there are some critters out there who are fortunate enough to have the means to buy every single thing that they release. So yeah, I just thought it was kind of interesting to see this superfan depicted in this way when they are actually encouraging that behavior. I just wanted to clarify that I'm saying they're encouraging people to buy merch. I'm not saying they're encouraging people to engage in problematic fan behavior such as parasocial relationships, you know, harassment, stalking, anything like that. Just the merch stuff. Lastly, I want to talk about Nanomori because I just love her so much. And it was hilarious seeing her interactions with Dorian and Breas.
Like, oh, who's this cute boy you brought over? This is the who's this man? Nanomori kind of almost stumbles onto her back, you know, massive elephant-like foot, and it's like...
This is your moment.
Get it. It's a pleasure to meet you, ma'am.
Goodness. What is this creature you brought to my home?
I know.
Your grandchild said that you were ravishing, but she did not accurately describe how beautiful indeed you are.
I love so much the idea of this kind of like horrifying creature, really. Also being like fiercely sexual. I don't know why. I just love it so much. I want to be a saucy old hag when I'm older. So I don't know. Yeah, give me some of that Nanomori confidence. It was great to see Ira and Mori in the same room again after so much allusion to their previous relationship.
I think they were. I don't know for sure. I mean, there were a couple times when I would like be in my room and sometimes hear things.
What'd it sound like?
Would it be like a threesome at that point?
2.5 at the very least.
I mean, I can get into it if you want me to get into it, but...
No. I'm having too much fun just imagining.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want any details, thank you, but it is a delightful little side story in this campaign. Actually, just touching on Ira really quick, I'm kind of wondering if Ashley/Fern or like the players in general have forgotten that Ira wiped Fern's parents' memories, probably, or it was heavily implied that he did so that they would continue working for him rather than going to find Fern, because it just feels like they're like, not all of them obviously, I mean I'm looking at you Lord now, are like lusting after Ira and seem like genuinely happy to see him and to work with him when he really messed up Fern's life. I don't know, anyway. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I thought that was interesting. Okay, anyway, back to Nanomori being a fiercely sexual hag. What I really want to see with Nanamori is a Bachelorette-style spin-off show with Nanamori as the Bachelorette and numerous folks fighting and fawning over her. Or, I don't know, we could call it like Hags Gone Wild or something, you know. Tonight on Hags Gone Wild, will Morrigan tread familiar roads with the king of horrors himself, Ira Wendigoth? Or will things heat up in Avernus with the sexiest minotaur in all of Exandria, Breas Doomseed? Critical Role production team, if you're hearing this, give the people what they want. On a slightly more serious note, we got a very brief interaction between Aurum and Nanamori about their deal.
I have my influences and purviews, but I'm not all powerful.
Probably helped us lose less than we otherwise would have.
I honestly was expecting a bit more from this. I think I was expecting Aurum to maybe even get a little angry, and maybe if he hadn't had that encounter with the Wild Mother recently, he might have. I don't know, I just get the impression that Aurum is sort of finding himself again after meeting the Wild Mother, seeing Will, and I don't know, I guess just getting a sense of purpose from the endorsement of the Forum, and they sort of have this mission now. I think Aurum may be coming out of his downswing that we've been seeing him in, I don't know. And don't think I haven't noticed the little moments appreciating Dorian, like when he met Dorian's dad in the, I think it was last episode.
And as I leave, I can't help but think, dang, apple didn't fall far from the tree.
Aurum and Dorian need a Baldur's Gate cutscene moment where, you know, they can just share like a little quiet time away from everything and talk about their feelings and like maybe have a little kiss, you know? I think everyone would approve of that. But back to this deal with Nanamori, so the fact that FCG died, does that mean that Aurum is off the hook for the deal? He no longer has to go and serve Nanamori after their adventure because she didn't really keep her promise. Like, she did help, and he thanked her for that help. He seemed genuinely thankful for it. But if I could, I guess I'll put the clip here, but I feel like the wording was very much like, we all get back safely. That was kind of the deal.
If I see them all through, and we get it done, I'll serve you.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious to see how this plays out and if, you know, we're going to see that deal come into effect anymore. So it looks like next week we are kicking into initiative, so we will have to see how that pans out, and I would love to hear your thoughts about this episode in the comments and what you think is going to happen next week. I want to say a huge thank you to my patrons. You are literally the reason I'm able to continue to make these videos, so thank you for your support. If you find these videos helpful or entertaining, I hope you will consider signing up to my Patreon. You can do so for as little as $2 a month. That is all for now. I'll see you in a couple of days for my recap of this episode. Goodbye.